What's up, everyone, and welcome to Arousal Football. Today we're going to be talking about Jack Wilshere, one of the most talented midfielders of his generation. Wilshere was highly regarded throughout his career, being praised for his passing, his dribbling, his vision, generally just his overall ball control. He had all the tools to make himself a world-class player. But at the age of 30, he's now hung up his boots and is the coach of Arsenal's U18 squad. It doesn't seem that long ago that Jack Wilshere was tearing up midfields around Europe, scoring his first goal for Arsenal and being tipped to become the next England captain. But with most players, with a lot of players playing well into their 30s these days, why did Jack Wilshere hang it up so early? In Three Strike Soccer today, that's what we're going to go over. I remember when Jack Wilshere burst onto the scene as a 16-year-old for Arsenal. I was at my sister's house and I just saw this kid tearing it up. It was unbelievable. He was putting his body on the line for every loose ball out there. He was picking out the perfect pass. He would go up against any defender. It was an incredible sight to see. This was a kid who was regularly being compared to Xavi, Iniesta, all of the great Spanish midfielders. Actually, Bastian Schweinsteiger said that he was one of the best players in his position, and Marco Reus even called him the perfect player and the future of English football. Wilshere was only 19 when he essentially tore apart Barcelona's legendary midfield of Iniesta, Xavi, and Busquets. This was the same midfield, the same season that Barcelona team went on to win the historic treble, winning La Liga, the Supercopa, and Champions League. They had Messi, they had David Villa, they had obviously Busquets, Iniesta, Xavi, they had Puyol at the back, they had Javier Mascherano. It was a stacked team. In fact, here in Barcelona, that team is still spoken about in reverenced and hushed tones. It's difficult for certain to say why any particular player's career unfolds the way it does. But it's definitely true that Wilshere faced a number of challenges and injuries throughout his career. But he also just made his professional debut at a very young age, 16 for Arsenal. And at that time, Arsenal was one of the top teams in Europe. So bursting onto the squad at the age of 16, on one hand, that can be a great opportunity. But it can also, on the other hand, be a bit of a challenge to deal with the pressure and everything that comes with playing with such an incredible team at the age of 16. There's a lot of expectations, there's a lot of pressure that goes with that. And sometimes for people at that young of an age, it's just really, really hard to deal with. Personally, I don't think that England knows how to manage specifically teenage youth that are already playing at a higher level than people their age. There's a couple names that we've probably never heard of. Jose Baxter, we've heard of Micah Richards, we also know John Bostock, but those are just a couple of names that never really made it to the heights that they were supposed to make it to. But if you contrast that, for example, in other countries, you have Erling Haaland, who was taken care of in Germany and Austria. You have Messi, who obviously is a product of the La Masia here in Barcelona. You have Mbappe in France. You even have, if you want to, keep looking at English players, you have Jude Bellingham, who's made his name in Germany as well. And that's not to say that, these teenage sensations can't make it in England. For example, Bukayo Saka made his Arsenal debut at the age of 17 and has gone on to become England's Player of the Year. You obviously have Jack Grealish and Phil Foden. So there are those, exceptions, but I believe that those are just that, more exceptions in England than the rule. So strike number 2. We're going to just call this one temper and off-field controversies. So Wilshere is known for having a bit of a short temper. He can switch from calm and collected to fiery in the blink of an eye, often resulting in heated conversations with teammates or referees. His outbursts have been well documented, with commenters and pundits noting occasionally that he struggles to control his emotions. Despite this, he he's still was one of the top English players in his position. There was actually a really well documented controversy, off-field controversy in 2018, where Wilshere was arrested outside of a London nightclub. He's also been fined by the FA for smoking cigarettes in public a number of times, which has also angered his then coach Arsene